Kris Fleming, the Genius Cultivator here. And as you know, I cultivate women entrepreneurs to become multimillionaires for positive impact. I'm here with my good friend Taylor Cowan today, and she is going to tell us a very interesting story about a recent real estate project. Taylor, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Taylor. I'm born and raised in the Columbus, Ohio area, and I actually just moved back here after 3 years being in the greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, and I've been in real estate about 3 years now.
What got you into real estate in the first place?
Well, when my husband and I got married back in 2021, I'm very budget minded. So I took care of our budget and took all of our investments and put it in one place and figured out, like, how are we going to start planning for our future, for our kids, God willing. So I started learning about investing, and I stumbled across podcasts and books that all talked about real estate as a great way to build long-term wealth. And I'm like, well, no harm in trying. So I decided to look into real estate. And then I was like, well, I'll join my local REIA and see if somebody wants to hire me and show me the ropes.
Do you mind to tell us a little bit more about the hiring and showing the ropes? I know that's the most frequent question we get is, how do I get started?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I had just gone to my first meeting. It was like a Wednesday morning meetup for investors, and they kind of got me into this real estate investing association, REIA, Cincinnati. So from there, we have this Friday morning haves and wants call where you go on, you say, I have this property I want to sell, or I'm looking for a property like this. And we basically exchange stuff. And so I got on there and I said, hey guys, I'm new and I know nothing and I need money. And people said, I want to work with you. I got on there and I said, I really want to learn real estate. If you want to hire me for like a small part of your business and then kind of show me the ropes along the way, I would love that. And how that looked is that a couple people reached out and asked me to do odd jobs here and there. So go and take pictures of this property, go walk this neighborhood, see what it looks like, and I'll pay you for your time. But one guy hired me and I was doing a weekly spreadsheet for him of foreclosure houses and details about them so he could figure out what to bid on. And through that relationship, he taught me how to find deals. He said, what you're doing is great, but if you really want to make money in real estate, you need to learn how to find deals. And I said, how do you do that? And what he did is he showed me how to do direct mail campaigns to figure out what kind of sellers to market to, what to do once you actually got them on the phone, how to figure out their problems. And from there, him and I have done like 4 or 5 deals together.
Oh,
yep. Because I was sending letters to different groups of potentially motivated sellers. And when I'd find a deal, I'd bring it to him first. And he would be like, okay, we could do this, this, and this to help them. And we would also make money. And I was like, this is great. Making money, helping people. This is, what I want to do. And that's kind of how that got started.
That's fantastic. I encounter a great many people who just have a hard time figuring out how to put their toes in the water. Where do I even begin? And they feel like they need to know everything before they even dip their toes in and get wet. So I love that you found a way to learn while earning income. Well, that was the dream right there, Taylor. Great job.
People ask me that all the time, how I got started, and I was like, it was divine favor that I found the right person at the right time, and he taught me so much. His name's Adam, and really grateful for him.
Awesome. That's another part of it is so many folks, there's a lot of fear around getting started. So I want to show people, here are some really crazy things that happened to these folks, and they did not die.
Correct.
So you also cannot die. You can get started. It's going to be okay. And hopefully we have, we also have some good success stories along the way. But that's the purpose of these recordings, is just don't be afraid. Jump in and figure it out. And you're not going to die. It's going to be okay.
Yes. You might come out a little stinky and a little messy, but you'll survive.
Thank you so much. So tell us about, I believe you have a stinky story.
That's just one aspect of it. But yeah, so I told you when Jake and I, my husband, first got married, we were living in Cincinnati, and we decided about, 8 months into our marriage, we're like, I was already interested in real estate and starting to kind of do that. And I said, Jake, I think we should get our first house. I think we should do a house hack or something like that. And that's what we tried at first. We looked at several fourplexes. So, live in one unit, rent out the others, hopefully cover most of your mortgage. That was the goal. Well, we looked at about 4 or 5 of those, and either cash buyers came in and swooped them up, or it just didn't work out for one reason or another. At that point, not having much patience, I was like, I'm so sick of this. This is terrible. Whatever comes up next that works, we're going to buy. I didn't like mentally say this to myself, but that was like the mentality I must have been in, because the next house we looked at, we decided to look at single families just for a heck of it. Maybe we'll find something that still we could, learn and make money on. And oh boy, we toured this house in northern Kentucky in an area called Bellevue, which is beautiful. It's so cute. It's historic. It's right on the river on the Kentucky side. It's 10 minutes to downtown Cincinnati. Amazing area. And so we looked at a little single family house there, 2 bed, 1 bath. It was like 936 square feet. So really good.
Yes.
But the point of this house and why it's the smelliest story is because when we walked through it, like we knew it was a fixer-upper. It was very obvious. Like everything looked like it came straight out of the 1970s. There were heavy candles burning, obviously covering up cigarette smoke and some other unpleasant odors. And it just wasn't in great shape. Like the carpet was black. I think originally it was like orange, but the center of the step looked like black because it was like stepped on for probably 2 decades and never cleaned or replaced.
Yeah, orange carpet. I'm thinking that's like 4 or 5 decades.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Gotcha.
But it was no longer orange. It was like that faded, like tangerine color with gray in the center. So I ripped it out myself. A lot of it we outsourced and you paid professionals to, but I was like, I can rip out carpet. That's not difficult. So I cut it up, ripped it out. There were piles of dirt this high underneath the carpet, like actual dust that you could stick. I was like, this is so gross. But what made this house so crazy is that just everything was a total mess. And I told you there's cigarette smoke. We went to clean we closed on the house to get you where we're going. We decide like, hey, this is a good opportunity. Yes, it's a mess. Yes, it's going to need a lot of work, but hey, we'll have a month between when we close and when we have to move out of our current place. So we'll clean it up, we'll paint it, we'll fix it. Our family will help. It'll be fine. And it did work out, but.
Quick question.
Yes.
How did you buy it? Did you use financing? Did you use cash?
Yep. So not cash. Like I said, I think we were like 24 and 23 at the time, something like that. Not cash.
Okay.
But so the purchase price was $136,000, which I think is too much because they asked $150 and we're like, heck no.
Right.
Once we got into it, I was like, oh, we totally overpaid still. But it was fine. So we put 5% down. We could have done more, but we decided we want to put as little as possible so we could have more for the rehab because that we knew. Yeah, because it was not livable in its current condition. Like people were living there, but it was like really gross. We pay $136. We put 5% down. That's like $6,800. We have like a couple grand in closing costs, and then we have a chunk of money, about 20 grand for the original. Go through and rehab it. So,
thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So we get into it, and the smell, like apparently those candles were very effective because when I got the key and I turned it and I went in the first day, I was like, wow, I don't remember it smelling like a cigar factory in here.
Oh no.
It was so bad because they were heavy smokers inside, and it was bad enough to the point that we're like, oh, we'll try to see if we can just like wash the walls instead of having to paint everything. Nope. You take a white, like a tissue or something, and you wipe the wall and it comes off bright yellow. Like just the nicotine and the smoke, it just stained everything. And so we took like tons and tons of towels and they kept coming off yellow. And we're like, nope, that's not salvageable. That was only one of the bad smells. The other really bad one is in the upstairs bedroom. I think that's where the dogs stayed at night, like with the teenage son. And apparently he never let them outside to go to the bathroom. Because I looked back in some of the pictures and they were just like those potty pads, like it kind of looks like a piece of paper that you set on the floor to let your dog potty inside. He just set those straight on the wood floor and the dogs would just pee all night in the bedroom.
On the wood floor?
Yep, on a potty pad though, so it's fine. It was not fine.
Yeah,
not fine.
Big dog lover here. We have 2 right now, but we have had as many as 3 at a time. Mm-hmm. We love to rescue dogs, and I can tell experience. they don't always hit the potty pad. In fact, I would say it's maybe 60-40, that 40% of the time they don't hit the potty pad. So,
No.
Yikes. Okay.
Especially, and you would think too, like put something under it in case it leaks. No, just straight on the wood. So obviously you have urine down in the wood, in the floorboards, like in the subfloor. And that was a nightmare. That was the first thing. So should I just get into like how we went about fixing it?
Yeah,
Or
what do you do?
first I cried a couple times.
Ever. Well, when I was crying.
First step when I'm stressed, you gotta let it out and you gotta let yourself rebalance. And you're like, okay, I'm a big girl. I can solve the problem.
I love that so much. Thank you.
That's always the first step in solving any problem. Just get a good cry, and then your brain will be like, it's fine. We're fine. So the first step was I tried to get it out. I tried to clean it because, I'm like, hardwood floors, people try to, salvage these things. They're worth something. I tried to clean it. We used soap. We used Dawn dish soap. We tried Simple Green. We tried Liquid Alive, which is like an enzyme-based cleaner that's supposed to like eat the things that cause the odors. We tried all of it. And I kid you not, Kris, I think I scrubbed this floor 12 times.
I don't
with
doubt
different
it.
cleaners. And I'm not exaggerating. Like I tried so many different cleaning products because I'm like, surely something's going to work. It didn't work. Let me save you and anybody else who's listening the time. It does not work. So what we ended up doing for that particular problem is somebody suggested Kills, like the oil-based primer. That worked. So what we did is my husband suited up in this big like plastic suit and like a really strong respirator. And he just literally painted Kills all over the entire floor, which sounds bad. People might be saying like, why didn't you just replace the floor? And it's like, well, we're on a limited budget. I don't know what I'm going to find if I rip up the floors, like if there's going to be, a bunch more repairs to do. And so we're like, we're just going to try it. We're going to like Kills this and hopefully seal everything off. And because we were planning to carpet the bedroom anyway, I told Jake as we got through it, I was like, Jake, I'm never going to be able to sleep in this bedroom. I'm going to remember what it smelled like. I'm going to remember how it mixed with the enzyme cleaner that smelled like vanilla so that it just smelled like vanilla dog. And I'm never going to be able to sleep in this room. More tears. Again, crying is a super essential part of the process.
That's tears. Oh, I'm glad the vanilla dog food.
It still lives. I still can't get it out of my head. Like I try not to think about it. And I was like looking at the pictures for this to talk to you. And I literally turned to Jake and I said, Jake, what did we see in this house? And he said, what did you see in this house? Yeah, you said you wanted to be a real estate investor. I was just along for the ride. And that is so true. That is so true. I don't know why, but I totally talked him into it. I'm like, oh, we'll learn so much. We'll make it so pretty and cute and fix it up. And he's like, okay.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I'm on my 6th live-in fix in this house.
Kudos to you. I wouldn't do it again. I don't regret this house because I gained so much, but I would never do that again. Once we Kills it, the smell was gone. There wasn't a hint of it. Like the memory was still there. So I had to like get that out of my head as I walked in. But physically, it was gone. So amazing. We also used Kills on all the downstairs walls that smelled like cigarettes, and that worked great. That was like our base layer, and then we went and painted everything, and so that really got rid of the smell. That was really good.
Yay.
Yeah, I was really scared because I was like, Jake, I'm already so sensitive to all sorts of bad smells that if we accidentally bought a house that is always going to smell for as long as we live here, I might die. You said at the beginning, like, you're not going to die. I might have died. I would have moved out and lived under a storm drain or something because I would not have been able to do that. But yeah, so those are two of the main problems. And the rest of it was really just bringing everything about 5 decades into, the present.
Right.
Because everything just looked like it was at least 20, 30, 40 years old. The orange carpet that was so badly stained, the wallpaper. Did I tell you about the wallpaper?
You sent me a picture of and I'm going to describe it for folks because I think I remember seeing this in my male cousin's room when I was a little bitty girl. And I'm a year or two older than Taylor. These men with top hats in red riding jackets on horses, and they're riding like an English fox hunt kind of wallpaper. So for those folks who are about my age, a year or two older than Taylor, remember this, because a lot of our friends, or maybe you yourself, had the same wallpapers. That is extra fun.
It was all over the entire dining room and then up the stairs. Like you said, it was kind of like an English fox hunt. And the wallpaper we had was like women in long dresses and children playing and men in top hats and dogs everywhere. It was just very bizarre. And if that wasn't bad enough, it was like 6 shades darker than it should have been because of all the cigarette smoke. Because I took one of the face plates off the light switch and I went, so that's what color that's supposed to be. Could have fooled me.
It was 6 shades darker because it was 4 decades older than it should have been.
And covered in smoke.
Yeah.
So bad.
Oh.
So there was the stuff that we kind of knew about, the things I told you. We knew we were going to have to paint. We knew we were going to have to get all appliances, countertops. We did all that. That was fine. What was bad is like the things we didn't know going in. And one of the major things was the insulation. So this is a 130-year-old house. So I think it was built in 1890. The basement was very scary, river stone. It was a little bit. But the thing is, the second floor, we didn't realize was not insulated because we toured it in like March, I think. So it wasn't freezing like winter and it wasn't 90 degrees. It was just kind of pleasant. And so we went in the second floor, it felt fine. Well, when you get into July in northern Kentucky and it's 95 degrees outside, that room heats up. And that was our bedroom, was on the second floor, and the only other room up there was the bathroom, and there was one vent for the entire upstairs. And guess where it was, Kris?
In the bathroom.
Not in the bathroom, not in the bedroom, in the hallway.
Obviously, that's where you want to spend all your time, is in the hallway, looking at that gorgeous wallpaper.
And so it was terrible because like all the other things we knew about, we could kind of plan for how to fix it. And we just didn't know to ask the inspector, hey, can you take a thermal imaging gun and look at the ceiling to make sure it's insulated? This is our first house. We've never thought about that. And that was a pain. We didn't actually end up doing like a super permanent fix for, because it would have involved ripping out the plaster ceiling, which is already a thing in of itself, re-insulating it, cutting new vents in the floor. So we didn't do all that. What we did is we just put in a really good window AC unit, like a portable unit that you could kind of turn to face you for summer. And then for winter, we had a space heater and snuggles. When you take a shower, you put a space heater in the bathroom so you don't step out and freeze solid. Yeah, that was one we didn't come up with, super great permanent solutions, but it was livable. Now at this house that we just bought, Jake and I all the time, we turn to each other and we're like, we have insulation. This is a working HVAC system that's not 30 years old. This is high life.
I love it. And so if you had it to do over again, is there anything you would do differently?
I think I would be much better about managing my contractors, because you brought that up earlier, that we just had some really not good contractors. And I'm not sure how to avoid that except joining REIA. Since we were kind of doing this on our own and we didn't know anybody from the area, I just was like, go on Google, go on BBB and look for decent reviewed companies, call them, get a quote. That's it. But even the 5-star companies that have great reviews, I had major issues with. So we had all the flooring replaced. And that was fine. The flooring ended up being great, but the people who installed it, it was, how there's a grain in the wood, so you can see like it's all supposed to go this direction, right? They installed about 95% of it in that one direction. And then there were 2 spots like on either side of like a kitchen hutch type thing where they just put in opposite direction, just perpendicular, just shoved them in there. And I looked at the guy, and in my head, I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm not a professional here. I don't install flooring for a living, but that looks wrong. Something about that. It's not supposed to look like that. And I said, can you, are you done? He said, yeah, I'm done. I said, fix that. But And thankfully I did do that, but there were other issues with the flooring that I didn't do so good. Like they missed a spot where instead of like replacing the existing quarter round, they just slapped the new stuff on top.
Okay.
And then,
yeah, that's weird. I do have to say, so the house that we currently live in was built in 1920, so not quite as old as the house that we're talking about, but still over 100 years old.
Yep.
And one of the first things we did was have all of the flooring replaced because of our dogs. When we moved here, we had 3 dogs, and it's only 1,200 square feet, so it's not 900 square feet, but it's pretty small house. We had that dog-proof luxury vinyl.
LVP,
Yeah, scratch-proof, pee-proof, everything-proof, right? So we were having that installed, and the guys who were putting in the flooring were like, we're not sure what to do here. Nothing is square. Square yet. They just finished the circle. There are definitely some corners around my house where I go, yeah, that's not square right there. But, flooring installer's fault. It's the house.
It's so hard. You have to retrofit everything, and stuff has shifted, and it wasn't installed correctly, and you just got to work with it. It's terrible.
It's part of the charm.
Right. Well, I'll do without charm, and I'll take modern. Thank you. And that's why my current house is only 20 years old.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, this is the oldest one I've ever purchased. You were saying you don't think you would do anything differently except managing the contractors a little better and maybe checking with people that you know.
Trying to find personal recommendations as opposed to trying to go on Google reviews, but I'm not even sure if that was like the wrong thing to do, because in theory the reviews are there to help you find the right guys, right? But I don't know.
Yeah. Contractors are one of those categories that, let me just put out this caveat that I have several friends who are contractors and I adore them and they are very good, but they were not the easiest to find.
Yeah.
And there are some really, really great ones.
Yes.
But you're going to find them from people who know, because it's just, oh, Tony can do that. I've got a number.
Yes. Tony has no last name. We don't know where he came from, but he's great. And that's what it is, because it's just the personal connections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to employ, I'm going to change the name for the purposes of anonymity, but we'll call him Peter. We used to employ a guy, Peter the drunk plumber. So he was a great.
He was so good at it.
But you had to go pick him up to bring him to the job site, and then you had to take him home because he had too many DUIs. He couldn't get there if you didn't go get him. Quality work and very reasonable cost. Peter the drunk plumber.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I actually have a very similar story from that house where my realtor recommended a guy, and for whatever reason I Googled him maybe to look for reviews, and he had like an arrest record, like news story about something crazy he did at a bar when he got drunk, and I was like, are you aware of this? She's like, yes, but he's really good. He's fine. He's harmless. He's fine. And so he was just like your Peter.
Yeah. I mean, no violence or theft or anything like that. Just too many DUIs. This is one of my favorite questions to ask anyone that I interview for any reason. If you could give your younger self 3 pieces of advice, what would they be? Now, this can be business related, real estate related, life related. It doesn't matter. I mean, it could be wear more mosquito repellent. It doesn't matter. What 3 pieces of advice would you give to your younger self?
Gotcha. Well, the first one that is business related is I definitely would, at least for my investing career, I would advise myself to join a REIA sooner. And for those who don't know, a REIA is a real estate investing association. And basically that's just like a group of people that all love to invest in real estate, either through fix and flips or buy and hold properties that they lease out to tenants or commercial buildings. Like we all get together and we say, hey, this is what we do. We're going to help each other. We're going to answer each other's questions and solve problems. I wish I would have joined before I bought that house. Because I think we bought the house, and then like 6 months later, I decided to bite the bullet and like start going to meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was so helpful because we have an entire list of contractors that people in the REIA use and like. And that's what I needed so bad.
That's the price of admission all by itself.
Yes. Versus like, I didn't even tell you the story about the plumber that was augering out roots in our drain system, and I paid for 2 hours, right? And they get an hour in and they're like, oh, well, can't seem to get it to come out. So we're just going to head home now. And I said, whoa. Unless you're going to refund me half of my money, I paid for 2 hours. So you're going to stay. And that was one of many stories.
Wow,
and so,
the audacity.
The audacity. And plus, they're like, well, what do you want us to do? I don't know anything about augering anything, but I was like, go to the spot where it seems stuck and do that for 20 minutes and see what happens. Lo and behold, oh, we got the spot somehow. So if I had joined REIA sooner, I would have had, there are so many good people in that group that are like, oh yeah, don't call these people. They have good reviews because they pay for them. And versus like, here, call drunk Peter and he will do a great job because he knows that I'm sending him, and that if he doesn't do a good job for you, I'm not going to bring him back. And just having that support and people who have gone through the same thing, I would have joined REIA sooner. So that's my first piece of advice to younger me. My second piece of advice to younger me is more general. I should have exercised more. And that it seems so basic. But I realized when I am not physically moving regularly, my brain goes crazy. I have too much energy and it all comes up here and it says, you haven't done this, you need to work on this, you haven't finished that, and I can't focus. Versus if I'm moving, if I'm taking walks, if I'm lifting weights, if I'm doing something strenuous that exhausts me, I sleep better, I eat better, I'm happier, my mood is more relaxed, and I'm not so stressed, because I think when I exercise, that kind of gives that extra energy a place to go versus coming into my brain and becoming anxiety and worry and what's going to happen tomorrow. I can exhaust myself so that I'm okay.
Yeah, that's very good advice.
I should have learned it sooner.
I haven't started yet, and I'm a couple years older.
So just 1 or 2, right? But that's the thing, it's never too late. And I love that even just a little bit really helps me. Like I take walks at night now, and I call some of my clients call me at 9 o'clock because that's when their day ends. And so I'm just out pacing it like, how much do you want for that house? What time do you want to close? Okay, cool. We're going to do it. Yeah, so that's really good. And I sleep much better. So highly recommend even anything small, it'll help. And then my third piece of advice is really just learning to enjoy life more. That's been really hard because I do tend to the side of worrying and trying to control things and trying to be on top of things so they don't spin out of control. But it just meant that I spent a ton of time worrying. What could go wrong? How much is it going to cost? What if this happens? And I spiral. Lately, something that I've been doing to help with that is that I'm forcing myself to take an hour-long lunch break.
Oh.
Yes. Well, because I realized I'd gotten into this habit where I'd plan out my list for the day of like, these are the things I want to get done. And I would think to myself, well, the faster I get it done, the faster I get to relax.
Right.
And so instead of taking a break during the day, I'd be like, well, if I just spend an extra hour, I'll be done. It's a lie, Kris. It's a lie.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. As a small business coach, we absolutely have to plan for our lives, because one of the top issues I see with entrepreneurs is that we are incredibly independent, we are incredibly self-reliant, we are incredibly resilient, we are innovators, we want to solve problem. We have just a little bit of this extra, well, if somebody else can do it, then I can do it. I love that about us. But one of the downfalls of that, every superpower has its kryptonite. One of the downfalls of that is we can build ourselves a monster that consumes us. And I am absolutely many times over guilty of that, and it's something I have to regularly manage. Yes, that's why I'm so excited that you said take a lunch break. I have working hours. I try really hard to stick with those working hours and to make sure that when my family is home, because I work from home, my office is
Yes.
in the backyard. So when my family is home, I really try to make sure to focus on time with my family and set business aside. And that's not easy to do when you're so driven and ambitious and such an innovator. I love this advice.
I think especially for women and people who work at home, and I say women because it, historically we are typically the ones who a lot of times work from home, and with this job I'm working from home, and like you said, you're home all the time, and for me that is stressful because not just am I working, but I'm also looking over and seeing the pile of dishes I haven't gotten to, the laundry that hasn't been folded, the dog that needs to be taken out, or in my case, a cat, because he likes to go on walks. But I'm not kidding. He goes on a leash and we go around the neighborhood.
I love it.
As a sidebar. But it's so hard because when your home is also your workplace, there's no separation. And so it's so easy, like you said, like, unless you have working hours, it's like, well, it's 7:00, it should be rest time. But I mean, my phone is right there. I could make that one more call. My laptop is still open. I could send that one more email. You have to be so intentional about saying, from 8 to 12, I work. From 12 to 1, I give myself a lunch break. I play video games. It calms my brain down. It tells me that it's okay to have some fun. It gives me something to look forward to, break up my day. And then in the evening, like once 5:00 hits, like I have to be done. And maybe I make one call here or there, but like my husband is off work. It's time to spend time with him. And if I have to make a call, it's like, hey, I have 10 minutes. What do you want to talk about? Okay, great.
And I think so many Americans in particular wear overworking like a badge of honor. Like, I worked 92 hours yesterday. Why? I mean, we've all heard it so many times, right? Nobody ever got to their deathbed and said, I wish I'd spent more time working, right? We have, why did you even start your own business? Why did you take on this endeavor if not to enjoy your life more? Mm-hmm. So then why would you not make sure that you're enjoying your life more? And by that same, again, the other side of the same coin is, if I'm working at 7:30, 8:00 at night, and I'm calling you about business at 7:30 or 8:00 at night, I'm now pushing you to not enjoy your life. So by turning off my business phone and having set business hours, I am also helping relieve you of your guilt. Yes. I think that's just my own mental manipulation, but it works for me. So if you disagree, don't come at me in the comments. We're leaving it like it is. I am empowering you to enjoy your own life by turning off my business phone at 5:00.
Yeah. That's great.
Taylor, if people want to reach out to you to talk more about your expertise, or maybe to, partner up with you or hear more about the story or which contractors not to call, how can they reach you?
Best way is my email. So I'll say it, then I'll spell it. It's livewithtlc@gmail.com. So my initials are TLC. So that works out for me. So it's live, LIVEWITH, and then TLC@gmail.com.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing this story with us, and hope to see a lot more of you around the Genius Cultivator stratosphere. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kris.